Hello, this is Tim from Two... No, I'm not from Two Blokes from Blighty. I'm doing, DLC. Hello, this is Tim from the Game Club pod at Wembembo and everything, back with a different kind of DLC. You might hear in my voice that I'm a little bit sick, so if the cuts sound a little bit choppier than normal, bear with me as I've been hacking up stuff for days. I am going to be talking about Evo France and the things that happened there in terms of tournament results, in terms of announcements, in terms of things that were playable on the exhibition floor. I'm not going to be talking about the day-to-day stuff. I imagine that'll be brought up in tomorrow's episode of Two Blokes from Blighty, which we are yet to record. First thing on the docket, Street Fighter 6. I'm only going to be talking about the top 8 of the main games at Evo. So, taking the top 8 positions, Dogora and Kawano took 7th place together. Dual Kevin and Takido took 5th place together. Mr. Crimson took 4th, Koboyan took 3rd, Blaz took 2nd, and Leshar took 1st. Street Fighter, hype as always. My money at the start of bracket would probably have been on Takido to take the entire Street Fighter tournament. However, the best performance from my perspective, from where I was sat watching it, has to have gone to Mr. Crimson's Dalsim. If you want to see why Street Fighter, at least in my opinion, is the fundamental 2D fighter, check out Mr. Crimson's top 8 run. It's insane. It's so good. I've never seen a Dalsim work like that, and it's made me think that Dalsim might be in the best position he's ever been in a Street Fighter game. End of. Moving on to Tekken, again top 8, we had Sin and Qdans taking 7th. We had Lowhigh and Kane Trench taking 5th. We had King Ray Jr. taking 4th. Fergus taking 3rd. John Ding at 2nd, and Arslan Ash at 1st. Now, high-level Tekken is exceptional to see, and this year's performance is no exception. However, the results for me were a little bit predictable, and that's not to say it's a bad thing. The high-level players should be rewarded for their high-level play, but I'd like to see a little more of an upset here and there in bracket. I think that'd make things a little more interesting to watch, especially in Tekken 8's current troubles. The gameplay reveal of Miari Zo was very cool though. She looks like yet another stance-based mixed-up character, and while Tekken has plenty of these already, it was nice to see the developers thinking about the lore, as she seems to have ties to Tekken 3's Ogre as well as True Ogre. I'm sure more details will be revealed in time when she launches later this year. Also, being able to play Armor King at Evo was a welcome surprise. He's due to a launch on October 13th, which is obviously past today's episode, but this was the day after Evo ended, and to be honest, I didn't think they would have bothered to have him there, but they did, and so he was playable, and he's fun. Is he going to take the place of my main king? Maybe, I don't know, but he's fun. I love his personality, him being like the heel of wrestling, and King being like the hero of wrestling, like the guy who amps up the crowd, but we'll see if I click with him or not. Guilty Gear Strive, which is my main game, taking joint 7th, we had Gobu and Daisonologist. We had taking 5th, we had Summit and Verix taking 4th, Nitro NY, 3rd Andros 11, 2nd Patachu, and 1st Tiger Pop. Solid bracket. Really fun matches to watch with an okay amount of character variety, and it shows that the game is in a relatively decent place balance-wise. It could be better though. Like I'm seeing, looking at my listing here, we had 2 Happy Chaoses, we had 2 people playing Chip, we had 2 people playing ABBA. I think we had a couple of Sins in there as well. But no characters like Sol, Kai, Baiken, Mei, whatever. It was also cool to see Gobu. He's probably my favourite Guilty Gear player of all time. His set at the Red Bull Comité a couple of years ago when Gold Lewis had not long been out is really entertaining to watch. His Asuka is insane. I think he's probably the best Asuka player in the world at this stage. And it was cool to see Summit in top 8. Obviously, we all knew he was going to make top 8, but as a bit of a personal brag, he absolutely wiped the floor with me in bracket, and it was cool to see him up there as a part of that victory path. And while I was rooting for Patachu to take grand finals, and I'm not the biggest Tiger Pop fan. Tiger Pop did play extremely well, and his victory was well earned, so I've got to give props for that. Granblue Fantasy versus Rising. Taking 7th place, we had Wreck-It Mundo and Miri. Taking 5th, we had Lagless and Skill. We had in 4th, we had Gamera. 3rd, Space. 2nd, Pixie. And 1st, Usagi. Now, I didn't watch any of Top 8 of Granblue. I didn't watch any Granblue. I have tried and tried and tried to get into the game, but it doesn't ever really seem to click, and yet I find myself wanting to go back to it. Regardless, they showed off the new character, Meg, who is presumably named after a megalodon because she is a shark-based character. She was revealed, she looked cool. I'm excited for what they do with her because Granblue has got some really interesting character designs. If you want to see a really good example of an underpowered character in the lore standing up to like overpowered characters in the lore, look at Luane. Now, Luane is a character in Granblue who should be dead by all accounts. He's the Yamcha of the group, if you know your Dragon Ball. And yet, he's able to go toe-to-toe with these fighters because it turns out when he's winning, it's him, it shows in his victory screen, it's him bragging to his friends at the pub and lying and exaggerating the story. And I think that's such a clever way of incorporating that kind of power creep and that almost an acknowledgement of there's no way this person would normally win. It was cool. Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. Taking 7th, we've got Centify KOF and Shadow X. Taking 5th, we've got Mock and Frezza. In 4th, we've got K-Top. 3rd, Abu Omar. 2nd, Kindevu. And number 1, Zhao Hai. Now, this was probably the biggest disappointment for me in terms of a top 8 for the whole weekend. I really like City of the Wolves on a mechanical level, but it's pretty clear to me that there's a balance issue with the game. In the top 8, we've got Hotaru taking the top spot, and she's always been overtuned since launch, in my opinion. We had three people playing Kain, who's also overtuned. We had 2 Hokotomarus, 1 Rock, and 1 Donghuan. If I were working at SNK's balance team, the alarm bells would be ringing for me. Liquipedia is a website that tracks tournament results, and they've naturally been tracking City of the Wolves tournament results since day dot. Hotaru has won the most results with 8, followed by Kain, and then Hokotomaru. And this is as of the most recent data from about 2 months ago. So, does that not suggest that there's a bit of a balance issue with those characters if they have been consistently winning across patches? I don't know, maybe. To contrast that, Dragon Ball FighterZ making a return at EVO this year. Taking 7th, we had Kusaga and Miami. Taking 5th, we had Noka and Levishoto. 4th, Obi Assassin. 3rd, Wade. 2nd, Gropis. And 1st, Hikari. This was probably the most exciting top 8 at EVO, in my opinion. Gropis was probably my standout player for the entire weekend. His Frieza is incredible. He has amazing situational awareness. His assist utility is through the roof. His reactions, his execution, outstanding. And don't get me wrong, Hikari played extremely well and earned his first place spot. But if you want to see what makes Dragon Ball FighterZ so great, keep an eye out for Gropis during a top 8 run this year. Also, probably the biggest announcement of the whole event is that not only Dragon Ball is getting a balance patch and an entirely new mechanic after 2 years of silence, being shadow dropped in a patch the day after top 8 finished, but we're also getting a brand new character, Super Saiyan 4 Goku, specifically from Dragon Ball Daima. By the way, if you haven't watched Daima, it's actually pretty good. Super Saiyan 4 Goku will be dropping in spring 2026 and has got people speculating if Arc System Works are now working on Guilty Gear 2.0 as announced at EVO Las Vegas earlier this year, Hunter x Hunter, Granblue, Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, as well as Dragon Ball. There's also speculation that another season might be on the way. The patch has felt very wacky in places, but the trailer for the patch and for Super Saiyan 4 Goku's announcement says that the fight is far from over, and we're due to get a Dragon Ball kind of overall games update in spring 2026, which is obviously when Super Saiyan 4 launches. I think we probably could be in for another season of Dragon Ball. And if that is the case, color me excited. It's clear to me that Dragon Ball is far from over. If anything, I think it's really back. Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact. Taking 7th place, we had Neskred and Dillinyan. We had taking 5th, Slaw and Sundula. We had BRZ taking 4th, PBL taking 3rd, Row1 taking 2nd, and Shinachan taking 1st. Now, this is possibly the worst performing Arc System Works game at the moment, but in a way, that made this really fun to watch. Watching people be the best at something terrible is weirdly entertaining. It's like watching who can have the hardest car crash. Watching entire teams get wiped out by hilariously optimized combos because of broken loops and poorly thought out attacks is hilarious to see. If you want to see more stuff like that, check out the top 8 of Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact. It's a good time. Then the last big tournament I'm going to be talking about is 2XKO, Riot's new foray into the fighting game scene. Taking 7th place, we had Senshi and Leffen, followed by 5th place with Hikari, who you'll recognise from Dragon Ball, as well as Mystic Smash. Taking 4th, we had K7 Showoff. We had 3rd with Sonic Fox, 2nd Supernoon, and 1st place, Wawa. Now, I've played 2XKO at home. I was in the beta previously, and I'm now obviously in the early access. It's fun. It's a really good game. But I played the 2v2 mode on the show floor where you fight 2v2 players. That game has no right being as fun as it is in 2v2. I'm used to 1v1 traditional or tag fighters. While 2XKO can do this, the 2v2 mode has got some exceptional tag team moments that I don't think I've really seen since Tekken Tag Tournament 2. And it's got a complete groove system like in Capcom vs SNK. It's got good character variety with a number of characters filling roles, paired with a tight gameplay, a low barrier for entry, fantastic visuals, and of course the low price of being free to play. I think 2XKO is going to get really far in 2025 going into 2026. I'll be honest, I didn't want 2XKO to succeed at first. I thought it had way too many faults and flaws, and if I'm honest, I didn't really want to attract the League of Legends crowd to the fighting game scene. And I thought it would be many people's first impressions of fighting games, which would lead to a negative perception of the fighting game scene. However, the team have listened to feedback, tuned again, and have been relentless in their work, and I'm actually really excited to see where this game goes. The last game I'm going to speak about is one that I mentioned earlier briefly, Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. I love me a Marvel fighting game. Things like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 3 are fantastic games to play and watch, despite me not being a massive superhero guy. And of course, I adore Arc System Works. They're my favourite developer. This is a dream combination for me, and I was fortunate enough to get some time to play it during the EVO weekend. On a visual level, game is stunning. It's clear, snappy, awesome effects that make it seem straight out of a comic book, and so much thought and detail were put into every single bit of movement. However, I found the game to be a bit mash-centric. The game does have an auto-combo system like in Dragon Ball, sure, but it's a bit over-reliant on it. And for me personally, that's not a great thing, but then I had a thought. Maybe this game isn't for me. Fighting games are a niche genre at the best of times, and given how popular Marvel as a franchise is, it stands to reason that the target audience is for people looking to see cool stuff happen on a screen with characters they know. This naturally leads to auto combos doing their thing, seeing characters like Spider-Man and Ghost Rider duke it out in front of the Avengers building, for example, or whatever. I can appreciate this game's low skill floor. If anything, I think it's actually a really good thing because it makes the game more welcoming to new players. But I just wish it had a bit of a higher skill ceiling to reward those who really put the time into the game. But that's about it. I think EVO this year was fantastic. It's clearly been a success. They've already announced that they're bringing EVO France back next year for 2026, and I will probably end up going to that as well. This has been Tim, at Wimbembo on everything, and I'll see you next time.